What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for another week of building Cato Neimoidia. Now this week, I'm finally going to be showing you what the city really looks like on Cato Neimoidia and how I'm going to go about building it, kind of starting to give you guys a vision or idea of what my plan is for the city. I feel like I've been talking about like how and when I'm going to start it for so long, but never actually getting around to it, just because either the pieces don't come in, I need to work on something else, I just don't have, there's other areas that I want to focus on. But now I'm positive, I know I need to start on the city. So today I'm going to be sitting down and doing some screen recording and showing you guys actual pictures of the city and kind of explaining and how I'm going to capture the city and how I'm going to capture it all in Lego. I do also have some work on the cables to do as well as some other stuff. Should be a good week. It's time to get building. All right, I got a big juicy haul this week. So first off, I got a bunch more dark tan 2x4, 300 more bricks. That's right, I am still buying more dark tan 2x4. I honestly thought I'd be done after Utapao, but it turns out I still need a lot more. Did also get this pipe. This is going to be for the city. You'll see more of that coming up later. Then I got some tiles, cheese slopes, bricks, 2x2 bricks, and then some 1x brick. And then I got some arches. These are actually for my castle block that I'm going to be working on soon. And then I finally got more of these. So I've got the socket right here. And then I've got the ball joint right here. I'm hoping this should be all that I need for the next little while. Should last me. So most of this, or a lot of this stuff, is actually going to be for the city. So that means this week I can really sit down and start to plan what it's going to look like and show you guys what I have planned for that. I do also have some more dark tan 1x2s. Basically, I'm just going to be buying dark tan for forever, it feels like. Now it's time to show you guys something that has caused me a lot of deliberation, a lot of frustration, indecision. Basically, a lot of time has been spent planning this particular aspect of the mock. And for a while, I've been telling you guys that the city just looks too short. And I was going to have to shorten it even more because if you guys remember, these cables were a lot lower down. We're at a much steeper angle, and I want them to be a more shallow angle, kind of like this. So I was basically, what I'd been deliberating was, do I make the mock longer? And if I do, how much longer do I make it? First, I was thinking about making it another gray base plate long. That would have been a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of extra effort because I would have had to have filled an extra base plate with trans clear brick. I would have to have made the city that much longer, and then I would have had to have added another table behind that. So that would have been a lot of work just for an extra gray base plate of length. And so what I did was I experimented with 16 extra studs of length, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but if I step back, you can see that actually stretched out this city area quite a bit and made it a lot longer. And also another thing I didn't take into consideration is this city is not going to be flat. It's going to be slightly crescent shaped like this, which means it's going to be even longer, right? Because you have to have that extra length to be able to go down and come back up. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this will be a good length. I may have to change it if I start work on the city and I realize that it's just still too short. But for now, I'm kind of hoping that I can get away with this. If not, I can flip these around and go 32 and go, 32 studs longer. That would be the max for sure. I don't think I can afford to go any bigger than that, but I'm hoping that 16 will work. And so that's why this bridge is actually higher up off the ground now, or higher up off the clouds, whatever you want to call it. It's because I actually scooted this mock out this way. So as you can see now, it's even longer. I'm pretty happy about that because I did also get the table, another table and legs, but I can actually use that over here for my castle mock. There is another thing that I want to show you. Another problem I had. This is going to be like a throwback to the Utapao days. So I was back here working on something and I happened to glance down at this wall. And I didn't even notice this earlier, but this wall was actually bowed out pretty bad. So it was coming along right here, then it would just kind of pop out like that. And I was actually having problems connecting this chunk of rockwork to this back wall because this back wall was at an angle, obviously. So you can't hook a Lego plate into an angled row of bricks. It has to be completely perpendicular to that plate. So that's ultimately why I was having that problem, and I didn't realize that at the time. But now I know that, and I fixed it, and it's actually much better. In fact, I could probably even connect to the plate right here if I needed to, but I don't think I have any need to do that now that I have this support underneath. So that's what I did right here is I took both of these rods apart and then I moved this wall back in so it was level again with the bottom, and then I put this one back together. I think it was about 2 bricks, either 1 or 2 bricks too wide, so it wasn't a major difference, I think, which is why I didn't notice until now, but it was definitely big enough difference that it was, affecting the mock. I haven't finished this one up yet. I still got to get that one built in, but this one should be easier just because, this wall is already locked into place. But those of you who are around for Utapau will probably be watching this with a bit of deja vu or nostalgia, considering this happened to me quite a bit with Utapau because I had such a tall mock and it went back in this direction so far that, I had these long walls that were kind of, leaning in, leaning out. I think at one point this whole back wall was leaning in that direction because I did this same principle, but I made one of these sides longer than the other so they didn't meet in the middle. They kind of met at the side. I don't remember exactly what happened. I just remember there were a lot of problems there, and then some of these rods were too high, some were too low, so they were at an angle. So there's a lot of complicated stuff that goes into building big mocks like this, not just the fact that you have to put all of these bricks together, but you have to make sure everything's level, everything's square, and when it's so big, it's easier for those kinds of things to be problems and not be noticed. Now it's time to tackle some more of the cable links. Here's a little time lapse of me putting a bunch together, hopefully the rest that I'll need for a little while. So originally I was actually planning on doing just the bottom row or layer of cables and leaving the top section until like much later down the line, just because I felt like they weren't necessary. And then I realized I'm gonna want to have all 4, preferably before I start the city. That way I know how all 4 are going to connect to the city, instead of just having half of them, like just the bottom half, because I think I would like them to connect to each other and then connect to the city. I just feel like that'll be stronger, having that solid connection of just 4 cables connected together and then connected to the city instead of all of them connected separately. I could be wrong. Honestly, between this mock and the Acclimator mock, I've really become a hardcore fan of the ball joint connection in Lego. That's something that I feel like I don't utilize nearly enough. It helps you create some awesome angles that you can't get otherwise, and it's also a very strong connection. Like, I still think it's crazy that that entire city is going to be held up by just ball joints. Again, I'm hoping anyways to not have any kind of clear plastic bricks underneath, no metal supports, nothing. It'll just be those ball joints, especially these thicker 2x2 ball joints, because there are the smaller ones, the 1x ball joints that I used on the Acclimator. Those ones are not quite as strong. All that being said, I will definitely be using these ball joints a lot more moving forward in mocks. Alright, I am back to planning mode for a little bit as we take a look at the city, and I'm really going to explain kind of what my vision or thought process is going to be for the city so far. So you can see I've got a picture here, one that you're probably pretty familiar with. I've got another one that we're going to look at, but we're going to start with this one today. So you can see along the entire length of the city, there's this long curved panel that basically curves like that and then goes down underneath the city a little bit. It runs the entire length and it's tapered or angled on each side. And then you can see down underneath there's this weird circular looking tank of some kind, and then in between that is the city. So this is going to be basically what I'm going to be doing for my city. So I'm going to build these panels and they're going to clip on to either side of the main body, and then the main body is going to house all of the buildings and such. And I am also going to have it curve like this. You can see there's a slight curve basically that runs in line with these cables up here and just continues the whole direction over here. I'm not sure how accurately I'll be able to create that curve and how well it will, and I'm not sure how well it will plane into the cables, but I'll do the best I can with what I've got. So now we're going to talk about these panels a little bit more, and you can see here's another picture, kind of goes a little bit more in depth on the panels and what they look like. They've got this weird alternating triangular pattern, so you can see there's these lighter triangles right here, and then in between each of those is a dark triangle like that. So I'm going to copy that and do something similar, but I'm going to be using Lego wedge plates. So I'm going to create basically an upside down triangle of a certain color, and then next to that is going to be another triangle, but in a different color and in the opposite direction. I hope that's not too confusing. I'm guessing because you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about right here. Should be pretty easy to see what I'm doing. Basically, I'm creating a pattern of triangles that will be on the top and the bottom of this panel, and then I'm gonna have it curve a little bit because I want it to kind of curve down underneath the city and then maybe curve up on top of the city a little bit. I'm not super sure how that's going to work, but basically this is going to be like a big solid panel. It's going to run the entire length of the city on the outside. All right, here's one last update for the week. So I got an entire another section of cable put in. Really happy about that because that means all I have left to do is this side, and it's actually already been started, and I have more pieces over here. One thing I didn't realize but kind of makes sense is this top section of cable is actually going to have to be taller, is actually going to have to be longer than this lower section because it's higher up and the cables are going down. So if you look at the same angle that the cables are going, this one is actually further behind this cable. So I had to add an extra link onto the front, but that's not too big of a deal. I feel like I can accommodate that change pretty easily. I'm really happy to have one side all the way done though, because I need to figure out like how is this going to connect to the city. And then now getting into the city, so now that you guys know what the actual city looks like, you can probably kind of better see what I'm going to be doing here. So it's going to be kind of curved, kind of crescent shaped like that. It's going to bow out a little bit, so it's going to be kind of oval looking. And then this is the pattern that I'm going to be doing in Lego. So if you guys remember what I just showed you, you had those weird triangular patterns running across the side of the mock. So that's what's going to happen with this. It's going to be on the side. But these two plates are not going to be connected right here. So one will be bent down at an angle, the other will be bent up at an angle. So it'll kind of create almost like a little bow looking shape that'll go like this and kind of surround the city. I'm going to do this to kind of make the city look circular without actually having to make the inside circular. And I won't have to do much work on the bottom because it'll be kind of covered up by this plate. So that's going to run along there, and then I'm going to have some angled bricks kind of right here that are going to run into where the cables connect to the city. I'm still not 100% sure how that's going to look. So this next week, I'm going to be taking this thing down and I'm going to be figuring out like what do I need to do to actually start building the city. Thank you guys so much for watching. That wraps up another week. Time to hit the outro. Hope you guys enjoyed this week of building Cato Neimoidia. I'm really glad to finally be starting on the city because the city is really like the last big thing I have to tackle. I feel like I've gotten the mountains mostly figured out. Really, it's just kind of like the repetition of continuing onward with what I've already have. Same with the clouds. I've kind of already got the idea of what I want to do. It's mainly just like doing that now. But the city's still new and it hasn't even been started, and I would like to get that started because I kind of want to have this mock wrapped up January, February-ish, and I feel like if I can get real good progress done on the city within these next couple of months, I should be able to get done sometime around February. All that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up, and don't forget to let me know what you thought of this episode down below in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future content. But until next time, happy building.